Welcome aboard the Seatbelt Sign podcast. We've been cleared for takeoff.
I got a little bit of congestion, so.
No worries. Me too. I'll edit all that shit out later. All right, back for another episode today. I have David from Gains and Airplanes. What's up, David?
Not much. How's it going, man?
Bro, so glad we finally got to do this. It's been a minute, trying to coordinate it, but
yeah,
we're here, so we're doing it. So, David, the way I met you is you were a mechanic at my local uncontrolled airport where I teach, and I don't know, it's been a couple of years since we've been bumping into each other. And you told me that you were a aircraft mechanic in the military. I know that's not the correct term, but we'll get into that. And you're also a licensed pilot. You have a Cherokee 180.
I got a 140.
140.
Yep, a Cessna 140 and a Cessna 210. They're all projects, though. So I'm the general contractor whose house looks like shit, but everybody else's house looks great.
Exactly. You've also been a big inspiration for me recently because you have Gains and Airplanes on all social medias where you highlight, the need for fitness, especially in the aviation world.
Yeah, it's a plus, must.
Yeah, and you're one of these 4 a.m., 5 a.m., wake up and go lift in your garage, in your workout room. And it reminds me every morning, like, oh, I'm a bitch, and I need to go lift some weights. So, but I recently got a fitness coach, and so I've been tracking my nutrition. And actually, I got to work out when I get home, but 4 workouts a week. And I'm only on week 3, but dude, it's been great. I really like it. So
that's cool. One step at a time. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest downfall too, folks. They want that instant gratification. I want to look meaty right now.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And it's tricky, some days you really feel the motivation to go do it, and then other days you're just dragging ass. But when you do start 5 minutes into any kind of workout that I was like, 5 minutes in, I'm like, man, I'm so glad I'm doing this.
Hell yeah.
You feel way better. So, all right, David, let's start at the beginning, man. So how and when did you get into aviation?
I got into aviation in the Air Force way back in August 8th, 1990.
Dang, you even know the day. That's crazy.
Yeah, you never forget your enlistment date.
And what was the motivation there? Was it like, I don't want to go to college? And then how did you decide on Air Force specifically?
So between my junior and senior year in high school, I got a call from an Air Force recruiter. So the summer between my junior and senior year, I went down there, took the ASVAB. They had this delayed enlistment program. And I knew that I wasn't going to college after high school. That would have been a huge waste of money. So I was like, man, this sounds like it'd be all right. And they had me sold on strategic aircraft maintenance specialist. I was like, ooh, man, that sounds cool.
It does.
And they showed me pictures with these guys in these blue jumpsuits. I never got a blue jumpsuit. It was a bunch of bullshit.
That's so funny.
Not bamboozled, because it was good. Well, now it was the best decision ever. That was a good decision for me because I would have been farting around, dicking around, doing nothing, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I was always one of those kids that, if you hear an airplane, I'm looking up.
Right.
So I was always a fan of aviation. So getting in at any level was a plus for me. So I got to travel, got to learn a lot. I've been doing it since then. I didn't get my A&P until 97.
Okay.
Because I transitioned into the Guard. It's what they call a Palace Chase.
Okay.
So I signed up for 6.
Uh-huh.
I did 4. And my remaining time I did in the West Virginia Guard. And I wound up in West Virginia because a buddy of mine, he was like, man, I'm getting ready to do a Palace Chase and just go in the Guard because they're paying for school. And it depends on what state you go to. And I went to his recruiter, and we went through the book backwards. So alphabetically, W came first. Come to find out, New Jersey was one of the states that had 100% tuition at the time, too.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but I wound up in West Virginia, went to West Virginia State, and finished out at the 100th Air Wing at, or 100th Air Guard at Yeager Airport in Charleston, West Virginia. Yep. I was working on C-130s. And during the summer after my sophomore year, I went to Baker Aviation in Tennessee and got my A&P. Yeah. And it's funny because when I was in there, they kept saying recip. I'm like, what the fuck is a recip? What is this? Recip this, recip that, magnetos. I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? I'm jets, right?
Yeah.
And they're like reciprocating engines. I'm like, reciprocating?
Yeah. You in piston?
Yeah. I'm like, they still fly pistons.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah. But you know what? What's crazy is there's a lot of what we call paper IAs. I would consider myself a paper IA because, yeah, I've got the time as far as maintenance goes. I studied the book, went and took the test, and that's how I got my IA. But there's guys out there who have been in general aviation their entire career, and it's really two separate career fields, jets and general aviation. It's two completely different fields, and it really needs to be taught like that because there's a lot of folks out there who think they know it all, who have a background similar to mine, and they've got their IA, and it's like, oh yeah, I know, and they can't tell the difference between a 150 and a 182. So there's a lot of I don't want to call it illegitimate. That's not fair, but there's far better mechanics out there that really have general aviation experience that are IAs that really know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah. No, I agree. I wanted to rewind for just 1 second. You were talking about, seeing the blue jumpsuits. So we both know my mutual student, Sasha. Okay. She was on one of the episodes as a helicopter paramedic. And she was telling me that all the time when she's going to work and she has her blue jumpsuit on, people stop and ask her, like if she's at the gas station pumping gas, they'll be like, "Oh, are you a fighter pilot?" And she's like, no, I'm just a nurse, a helicopter paramedic on a. And she did also tell me that one guy once said, "Hey girl, are you an astronaut?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, in rural North Carolina, that's where we're going to find, an astronaut in their blues." Yeah. Right. And that's so funny. Dude, that's so neat. So, all right, so you get into the military, and from day one, they were like, okay, you're going to be basically a mechanic. So you go through basic, you do all that stuff. Now they're teaching you like how to be a mechanic. So let's let's start the journey from there. And what's like all the cool stuff. I know in the military, it's a lot of hurry up and wait, but I would imagine, and like you just highlighted, there's pistons and there's turbines, and there's a big difference there. Huge. And I'm definitely of the piston world. I'm just now, I finished King Air School, and I'm doing a little bit of training on it. So turbines still are kind of like, they run on magic in my opinion. Like I don't quite understand it all. But yeah, man. So let's start from day one. You're sitting in the classroom, and I imagine, are they teaching you a specific aircraft, or is there like general knowledge at first? Like, how does it all work?
So there's a couple of phases. The first one is your tech school, and your tech school is general aircraft maintenance knowledge. They're going over tools.
Tools, something I wouldn't even thought about because I don't know the difference between a 3/8 and a half, socket. Like
exactly,
I'm not one of those guys.
Yep. So they're going over tools. Really basic stuff like how to. So there's a meaty end on a wrench, right? And whether you're tightening or loosening, that is the preferred end that needs to be handling the majority of the torque when you're tightening or loosening a bolt. Because if you don't, the other end is really just a guide, and you can wind up messing up the hardware. So it's stuff like that I wouldn't have known. Understanding how to torque, like say if you've got a 45 inch-pound torque, converting it to foot-pounds or Newton meters or something, and or putting an extension on a torque because it's in an odd place. You got to understand.
True.
Okay, I'm extending my arm. What's my calculation? Or if I'm at a specific angle, there's a calculation for that. So there's things that you learn, safety wiring.
And for all the people out there like myself that we're like, what? So we're talking about in aircraft, certain bolts, they need to be tightened to a certain measurement. You can't just twist it until it's tight.
Yeah,
No.
Exactly.
It's like very, very precise.
Yeah. Yep, especially on the engine, especially like critical components, engines, flight control surfaces. They need to be specific, because otherwise, if it's too tight, you're going to cause binding. If it's not tight enough, it's going to shake itself loose. So you got to be really careful when you're doing it. And there's actually 2 torques in some instances. Like I know on a heavy, like a 6.7, you need to take a tire off, you do a set torque, and then you back it off, and then you do a final torque.
Interesting.
On jets, they have you have your initial torque, you have a run up, or something that will create a thermal cycle. So it'll get hot and everything expands, and then it cools down and contracts. And then you have to do a second torque, or your thermal expansion torque. So thermal cycle torque. So,
dude, that's so neat, because it would be so interesting to sit in on some of these classes, because you would think like, hey, today we're learning how to tighten screws, and you're probably thinking like, dude, what the hell?
Right? How hard can that be?
But as you just said, like things get hot and they expand, So that's so crazy just to think at such a precise level.
Yeah,
stuff you're working on. So I'm sure that maybe was a little bit boring. So then, you're getting out of the classroom, and now they're like letting you put hands on stuff. So what was like the first aircraft that you really got to put hands on?
So the first aircraft I put hands on. So this is the thing. When you're going through the general maintenance stuff, that's your tech school, your technical school.
Okay.
Then they have something called an FTD, which is your field training division. And they send you to a base that has the aircraft that you're going to be working on.
Got it.
And that's when you work on your specific aircraft. So my tech school was in Wichita Falls, Texas. And that's where all aircraft mechanics go.
Okay.
But then their FTDs, like I had a buddy, his name was Luke. Luke went to Arizona because he was an F-15 mechanic. So I went to Minot, North Dakota, because that's where a bunch of 135s were.
Man, and honestly, in my opinion, both of those options are terrible, because North Dakota is cold as hell and there ain't nothing cool, but Arizona is hot as shit.
I never experienced cold like that in my life.
Dude, it is something else. I drove through North Dakota one time, and it was just after Thanksgiving, and I remember I saw horizontal icicles at the gas pump, and I was like, where am I? Like, it was that windy and cold.
Everybody's got a block heater hanging out of their car.
Oh, I bet.
And they've got stations where you can plug, you pull up to the Target or the Walmart, and you're plugging your vehicle in when you go to the store. Dude. Because if not, you're not going to turn that thing over until spring.
That is just ridiculous. Like, anybody living in those conditions, move somewhere else, dude.
It's fucking crazy.
That's nuts. All right, so you end up in North Dakota, and you're working on
KC-135s, A models.
Okay.
So A models are those were the first version that came out, and it's a turbine. Everything's turbofan right now, but turbine is just a straight jet. There's no fan. You got your inlet guide vanes, and then it's like compressors.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they had the J57s, and they're water burners actually, and they 670 gallons of water, and what it does is, and it's used in hot weather bases, where when it's the molecules are thin, the air is not as dense.
Okay.
So they'll use water injection to get that more dense. It's like a cold induction on cars.
Yeah.
Very similar to that. But 670 gallons in 2 minutes.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah. Those water runs, they're noisy. And what's crazy is the thrust is so much that you can feel when it cuts out, it's like the engine's cut off. That's how much thrust you're getting, because you can feel the difference in the thrust, and you're feeling as soon as it cuts out, it feels like you jerk back for a second. Yeah. So that's what we worked on. The air refueler was a cool mission because, one, you got to see all these different airplanes come up and get refueled. That was always cool.
Yeah, so I did this ferry flight a while back, and I forget what branch of the military, but I was flying along with a guy who was a mechanic for the KC-135, and I did an episode a couple back talking to a boom operator. And I didn't know this about the boom operators, but they're like, pretty qualified, like almost to the pilot level. They know the checklist. They're sitting up in the flight deck. They do a lot of stuff.
They're load masters / engineers / boom operators. They wear multiple hats.
Yeah. So did you ever ride along in the jet while
Oh yeah, wherever the airplane went, that's where we went. That was the cool part about being on 135 because it's a KC. So K is for tanker, C is for cargo.
Okay.
So we were always hauling stuff to different places. So wherever the aircraft went, that's where we went. So initially, whenever there was a refuel, I was always back there with the boom operator, just looking because it's cool.
Yeah.
But then after a while, it's like they'll come and say, "Hey, we're getting ready to refuel such and such." It's like, I don't care.
Yeah. That's what my buddy said. He was like, I've been doing it for over a decade, and as soon as the plane takes off, I'm running back to that bunk. And you're just laying down and then they'll come talk to you and they'll be like, "Hey man, this thing broke." And it's like, well, I can't fix it in the air.
Now, yeah.
Yeah. So they would and then the boom operator told me that it was always like a fight between the booms and the mechanics on like who gets which bunk. And it's like, man, and I mean, you didn't have Netflix when you were in the military, but that's what they're all running for. They want to get cozy and just chill.
So the way we ran it, we always knew that the bunks were for us because we were out there pre-flighting all night. So we, that morning sortie, it's time for us to hit the sack because we were up all night getting it ready. These guys bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. No, I better not catch you in that bunk.
Yeah.
You just got out of bed. What are you trying to get in my bunk for?
That's so true. Yeah, that's something that I was talking to another mechanic who works on 737s up in Canada, and that's mechanic life, baby. You're a night owl. You are up all night, and when the sun comes up, you're like that viral video of the guy who's like getting the 18-pack from the gas station at 7 a.m. He's like, "I work third shift. Get the fuck out of here."
Hey, look, I had this is later on. I'm at United, and I caught a red eye. So I was working at a Oakland station. So what we would do is if we couldn't get a flight out of Oakland, they would let us leave early so we could hightail it to San Francisco and catch our flight. So I hightailed it to San Fran, and I get on the plane, and the flight attendant is asking us what we want to drink. And I said, "I need 2 Jacks and 2 Budweisers."
No, damn.
She says, "It's 6 a.m.
Right.
So I looked at her, right? I've got my badge out.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not some schmo off the street.
Yes, right.
I'm a United employee just like you. What the fuck you give me a hard time for?
Yeah.
She's like, it's 6 a.m. I'm like, I just got off work. You know what I'm saying? Your 6 a.m. is my 6 p.m. It's fucking Miller time.
Yeah.
She gave me a hard time. Then she tried to charge me. I'm like, are you serious? Yeah. So look, as I was leaving, right? So we land, I'm leaving.
She only said that because she wanted to indulge too.
She did.
Yeah.
So I gave her the money. She's like, "Oh, no." I was like, "No." I made sure I did it in front. I had my badge out, and I made sure I did it in front of her compadres.
Right.
Because they were looking like, what is he? Like, you said it cost X amount of dollars. Here, take the money.
Yeah.
I'm paying for it. You said it cost this much. I'm paying for it. Oh, no, bitch.
Right.
Take this money.
Yeah. Well, the Karens of the skies,
Golly.
All
But
right,
then
man.
there's been great ones too.
Oh, of course.
Where
Like
I'm-
with everything. Yeah.
I'm fucking passed out before we even push off the gate
Yeah. Nice.
because we got upgraded to first class. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
All right. So you're on the KC-135. Tell me about some of the coolest places that you ever got to go.
Oh, man. England, France, Italy, Spain, Turkey, Guam, Australia,
Guam. Yeah.
Hawaii. Hawaii was for a hot second, because it was en route to Guam. And we were in Guam for 5 days. And then, it was 4 days in Guam, 5 days in Darwin, Australia. Came back another 4 or 5 days in Guam, and then back.
And you're a young man at this age. You're probably like early 20s, right?
Oh yeah, let's see, that trip I was 22. I was 22. 21, 22, right around there. That was a fantastic fucking trip.
Man, I can only imagine you at a young 22-year-old in the far places of the world that you never would have imagined going to.
It's the craziest, man, because they're paying you to party around the world. Literally paying you. I hear these guys talking about how they hated their deployments, Army guys, Marines. I'm like, man, we had a great time. So look, they told us when we got to Australia, like, oh yeah, this is going to be field conditions. We were in a 4-star hotel, downtown Darwin.
I have heard that the Air Force knows how to live abroad
Look.
versus like the Marines. They're like, you see that muddy trench, that's where you sleep in.
Yeah.
So it's like,
And-
pick the branch right.
And folks are like, oh, Chair Force. That shit does not hurt my feelings, man.
Yeah, whatever.
We
We're cozy.
lived fucking grand.
That's awesome, man.
Hell yeah, that shit was great. Everywhere we went, man, if we didn't have top-notch conditions, we would cry like bitches.
I love that, dude. I love it. All right, so you're trained up on the KC-135. We finally got out of cold North Dakota, and like you said, you were going to beautiful places all over the world. Did you work on any other aircraft?
No, just the 135.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's one of the things they say, because at the time, right, you had SAC, MAC, TAC. So SAC was Strategic Air Command, MAC was Mobility Air Command, TAC was Tactical Air Command. But all of that changed right after the wall came down in 91. And then they started going with a whole bunch. They started meshing stuff together. So SAC was bombers and tankers. And so that would be 135s, KC-10s, B-52s, B-1s, B-2s.
Yeah.
Then you had TAC, which was all fighter stuff. And then you had MAC, Mobility Air Command. So that was your C-130s, your 141s, and your C-5s. They transitioned us to MAC. We were no longer SAC. SAC was done.
Okay.
Strategic Air Command was done. And primarily because the wall came down. Because the SAC was, that was a Cold War era thing.
Okay.
We had these things called alert pads. And you would have 6 bombers and 4 tankers fully loaded with fuel and nukes.
Damn.
And then, if an alarm went off, everybody would run to the airplane, spool them up. We had these things called cart starts. It's a cartridge. It is an 8-pound container or canister, that 8 pounds of gunpowder. You load it right where the compressor is.
Okay.
And when it fires off, that canister is basically spooling up your turbine.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a cart start. So you go from 0 to 100 in seconds. So we would have exercises, you'd hear a klaxon, but you had to respond like it was real world because you never knew if it was,
right.
So we would have something called a mover. And a mover, if you're not aware, like typically you see the klaxon will go off, everybody runs out to the airplane. They spool up and then they shut down. But every once in a while, they'll spool up and start taxiing. And it's like, oh, shit. Are they leaving? Because if they leave, it's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
And they would be called a mover. They'll taxi down to the hammerhead, and then they'll come back. And then they refuel.
Yeah.
They got to clean out the
Residue.
From the cart starts
Right,
and
right.
then reload new carts. So you got to clean the breaches for where the cart starts happen. But yeah, when all that went away after the end of the Cold War, that's when all the commands started to change.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and for anybody listening that's like, what? It's these
Cold War. How old is this motherfucker?
No, not even that. If somebody doesn't know about the Cold War, our public school system is failing you in history. But no, so you can't just start a turbine engine the same way that you do your car. Most of the time, any airliner, you're going to use what's called a ground power unit. It's like a big, giant, think of just a big ass generator, and you put gasoline in it, and that is going to give you power to power up your engine. Now, if you do have to do a battery start, that's going to really drain your battery because these are big engines that we're trying to start. So that's why we have to stick 8 pounds of gunpowder in this thing and just boom, like get it going.
So we had these air carts. We call them Dash 95s, and you would hook it up to your pneumatic port. And all it was just forced air that was hooked up to a manifold that would go to all 4 engines. Nowadays, though, with everyone starts with it. The APU is what supplies the air to the smaller jets. They have electric starts, but most of the bigger jets, it's forced air coming off the APU to spool that turbine to get it going.
Yeah, because it's big,
Yeah,
there's a lot of thrust. So.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Well, that's interesting that you worked on the KC-135. So I don't know, but from the little bit that I have heard, it sounds like that is kind of a cush mechanic job. Like you're not working on helicopters where shit's breaking constantly.
No.
You're not You're not doing, stuff in fighters where these guys are getting, they think they're Top Gun and they're pulling like 9 Gs and breaking stuff,
Right.
or flying low and I clipped a wing. So tell me about some of the times where you were like, these damn pilots are keeping me up all night. I got to fix all this crap. Like, what were some of the biggest headaches of stuff that you had to fix where it was just, you're like, really, guys? What the hell?
A lot of it would be cosmetic stuff, like not being able to operate their seat properly, breaking shit on the adjustment for the seats.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But the 135 is the first one came out in 1955, and I crewed a 55 model.
Wow.
So, you got some old shit out there, and, it's just standard wear and tear stuff. So the biggest pain in the ass job I ever had to deal with, it's a wing to body seal. And it's a membrane, a mesh silicone with a weave in it. Like, you ever see a silicone tube and it's got a mesh web in it to kind of help maintain its rigidity. So this mesh would get stretched, and this was for so where the wing comes in, and as crazy as it sounds on the 707, it's really a 701. There's three humongous milk. They call them milk pins, milk bottle pins. That's what holds that wing onto the fuselage, right?
Damn.
But there is a seam that gets covered by this membrane, and what you have to do is you have to stretch the membrane over the seam and run a cable, right? So on either side, there's this channel, and you have to press this cable inside the channel with this membrane. That shit took for fucking ever. And the reason it took forever is because you can't just start on one end and work your way down and around, because it stretches it and it makes it fucked up. So you have to start here. So you have to incrementally work your way around. And even doing it like that, there was so many times we would have to pull it out and start all over again to reseat it properly, because you don't want it needs to be taut and even all the way from end to end. So you're trying to smash this in the groove, and it's a pressurization concern. So after you get it in, then you have to half it and do some pressurization runs to make sure that you can stay pressurized. It was a big fucking pain in the ass. That was the worst job ever, and I had to do it twice.
Oh,
yeah.
So I've heard, like, in charter world, sometimes you'll write some stuff into maintenance because you're at a wonderful destination. So you're like, oh man, we're here in the Bahamas, and this little light bulb on this emergency sign here, technically, guys, we could fix the light bulb ourselves, but I think maintenance needs to come down here, which means we're going to delay for a day or two. So was there ever a time, like, if you were in Guam or Australia, where the pilots would be like, hey man, go find something broken so we can stay here?
It depends on how much rank they got.
Yeah. Nice.
Because if they didn't have a bird on their shoulder, get the fuck out of here. I'm not
That's
risking this shit for you.
That's awesome, man.
Now, if a bird came over and said that, shit, you're just shy of a star. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Whatever you say, sir.
Whatever you say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it is super neat that they built this shit back in 55, and 55. It's still running good. It's still basically, the nuts and bolts are also there.
Yeah.
I saw at Sun and Fun, I got to tour one with this mechanic I told you about, and he was pointing out that all of them still have, like, the celestial navigation port.
Yeah.
So these guys were flying around the world just looking at the stars, no GPS, no nada. And I did hear one crazy story, maybe you've heard this, that one of them, like,
yep.
And I think the flight engineer, like, got
navigator.
The navigator. He got sucked into this hole and he died, but he actually saved the crew.
Yeah, because his body plugged it up. His body plugged the hole.
Bro.
Yeah, that's when they did away with that. But they still had the case with the sextant in it. So that was part of their equipment list. But all of those holes were patched over.
Okay, makes sense. Man, that must have been brutal. Could you imagine? Dude.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Those pressurization runs, I don't look it up, man. You look at some pressurization runs that go wrong, people that don't know what they're doing, messing around with, I mean, there's plenty of footage of aircraft just blown to bits because they overpressurized or they dumped the pressure too fast. Because that used to be one of the things everybody wanted to do. You want to make the clouds. You want to make clouds in the cargo area. So if you dump it not too fast, but if you dump it fast enough, you'll get that condensation in it. Oh shit, you see clouds. But there's this one kid. We were doing a pressurization run, and he was back there at the nav station, dicking around with the knobs. And I mean, these engines, you got all 4 engines running, and you're at like. You're above 50% because you have to have so much to get it going.
Okay.
And if you don't have enough pressure coming off of it, you won't build pressure, or you'll build pressure, but it'll take forever.
Okay.
So you're usually up at like 60% or so, and you're only running 2 engines. But this kid was dicking around with the knobs. Next thing you know, everybody's grabbing their ears because.
Yeah.
You know, that pressure is like, man, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, that's happened to me on a pressurized Cessna 210,
Yeah.
when we pressurized on the ground, and I had a sinus infection.
Oh, wow.
Dude, I wanted to rip my ears off for 3 days. We moved it from California to Raleigh. It was the worst. Yeah, but like you said, some airplanes exploding. I was shown an accident case study. Can't remember what military aircraft, but they were looking for holes in the fuselage to plug them up for pressurization. And it was a weird issue where like, the mechanics, they hooked everything up, and then the gauge, it went up to where it was supposed to. And he like walked away for a second, and he was like, oh, this is wrong. And so he reset it, and then he was like, I gotta build the pressure up.
Yep.
And the whole fucking airplane just exploded like a box of confetti, and it killed like 4 guys.
Yeah, man, you got to be careful with that shit. It's you know, we joke about shit, but like I remember someone dropped one of our overwing hatches, and it caused a ding. And because of that ding, you could hear a little whistle. And that whistle was just
Air escaping.
And what we would do is we would wet paper towels and shove it in and basically plug the hole.
Yeah.
And it would work, you know. But shit like that you really don't want to play with, because pressurization, you can really fuck some shit up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right, so you've been in the military for a while now, and you're starting to think maybe you want to move on to something else, or did you re-enlist? Like, let's talk about that, kind of the tail end of the military, and why did you want to get out, and let's talk about all that.
It's crazy as hell. My dad, he hates that I say this, right? I didn't go to college to get an education. I went to college to play football.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think most football players would say that. Yeah.
I went to college because I saw. So I was stationed in Warner Robins. Fort Valley was the school, not far from there, and there were some guys on base that were practicing, and I was like, man, I want to see if I can do this shit. So that's when I did my Palace Chase into the West Virginia Guard, and went to West Virginia State. And you know, you got to maintain grades in order to play. And if you maintain your grade for a certain amount of years, you get a degree. I was like, all right, great. Played 4 years at State. But it was at that time I was working on C-130s in the guard unit. And then I'd gotten my A&P that summer at Baker, because I knew that's what I was going to do when I graduated. As a matter of fact, after graduation in 99, I went to Lockheed.
No way.
Yeah, I went to Lockheed Martin in Greenville, South Carolina.
Bro, that's cool.
It was cool. I was working on C-130s, C-9 Nightingales, and P-3s. They had P-3 Orions there. As a matter of fact, in Bush's first term, right, George W., in his first term, there was an incident with what they call a VP Squadron P3. And that's one with a bunch of antennas and wires and shit on it.
Yeah, I had to Google it because I wasn't sure. But yeah, I've seen these a lot. They got that like dome, and they can kind of like fly. They got the 4 props and big ass, kind of looks like an airliner, but a lot of them have that like radar dome on top. So they're kind of like ATC for you guys. And
they do a lot, right?
Yeah.
So the VP Squadron ones with the amount of antennas and listening shit that they have. So this particular one was flying right off the coast of China. China's they scrambled something to go look at it, and something happened. Somebody's wings touched or something happened, and the P3 went down.
Oh no!
They didn't crash, but they had to make an emergency landing. And George at the time is like, "Hey, you send us our shit right now." And Congress is like, "Whoa, let's be easy with this." But I looked at the tail number, and that was one of the ones we worked on.
That's cool.
At Greenville. Yeah, that was cool as hell. But yeah, those P3s that's a badass airplane. Complicated as shit to work on. Not very maintenance friendly, but a fucking workhorse. Those 4 engines is way overpowered for that stubby wing. And from what I understand, they typically, once they get to altitude and they're flying missions, they're on two engines.
Yeah, engineers must wake up every day and just say, how are we going to fuck over the mechanics today? Because, dude, like you'll put a bolt behind like 4 inches of steel. Exactly. And then it's like the one bolt that you got to unscrew every 4 months to go check something.
Exactly.
And then you're like, why the fuck did you build it like this, man?
Yeah. He's still angry about his guy sleeping with his wife or something.
Yeah, honestly, dude, that must be it. Oh, dude. All right, so you graduate and you become an AMP. So for those that don't know, it means airframe and power plant.
Yep.
So you are now a licensed mechanic. You can work on stuff in the civilian world. How was that test? I know it's rigorous because it's like it's 3 separate parts, but it's all one giant test.
Right. So you have I took 3 separate tests. So what I did was I took my, and they don't do it like this anymore. It's different. But so when I went, I took my training records to the FAA. They took my training records and they went through a book that has all of the MOS codes. And it lets them know what type of aircraft they worked on, and what their job description was, and if it fit AMP. Because there's some guys, I know some guys, they took their records to the FAA and it only gave them their P.
I see.
So I went, they gave me my AMIP. So they gave me a certificate signed and stamped. Hey, he can take his airframe and his power plant. So I got to Baker, and it was 4 days, right? So day 1 was general. Day 2 was airframe. Day 3 was power plant. And day 4 was my practical. So practical, you go out, you meet an IA or an examiner, and he asks you some questions. This is how long ago it was. I had to research parts on a damn microfiche. You know what a microfiche is?
No, what the hell is a microfiche?
Microfiche is a piece of plastic.
Uh-huh.
And you can probably get like, I don't know, a chapter and a half worth of information on it, right? It's all small writing, and you put it in this glass, close the glass, and then it pops it up on this screen, and then you're moving it around. Yeah, it's crazy. So it's basically volumes of text on these small sheets of plastic. Yeah, those days are long gone. Everything's
bro. That sounds
now.
Like pre-floppy disk. What the hell, dude?
This is the same era as the 5-inch.
You guys are bringing in like your stone tablets, and you're like,
you have hammer and chisel, tink, tink, tink.
Oh man, that's funny. And I've been so curious, like the practical tests for becoming a mechanic. Are they grading you on like how do you weld? How do you do safety wire? Like,
yeah, so they're looking at safety wire, how you torque, how you service a battery, how you dress a prop, because that's what I had to dress a prop. I had to service a battery. I had to research some parts, and I had to, I just had to verbally talk him through a tire change.
Okay.
But again, see, this is all new for me because I come from jets.
Yeah.
And what were we working on?
Probably like a Cessna 172.
It was
some general.
It was some recip sitting in a hangar.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus Christ. All right, let me
feel like I could pick this plane up with my bare hands. Like, this is not
crazy,
a plane.
Man. It's crazy. It's like, man, is this a museum piece or what? But
especially you coming from Lockheed, that makes a lot of sense. Like, you were touching the baddest shit in the land, and then you went to the most basic clapped out 172, and you're like, this is a flying lawnmower, dude.
But I don't know if it's 2 weeks or 4 weeks. It's not a quick zip.
Okay.
They don't do that anymore. And I think it's because the standards have changed.
Okay.
And I think that's because there's some understanding that there's two separate trains of schooling. It really needs to happen that way. But I think if they did, the mechanic shortage would be far greater than what it already is, because nobody's going to go to school to learn about working some recips.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to school to learn about recips. Right?
Okay.
You're going to A&P school so you can go to the Airlines or something bigger. They're not going to separate it. It really is two separate trains of thoughts. That's why whenever a guy, talk to me about maintenance or, hey, can you do X, Y, and Z? Yeah, I can do it, But I want to let you know up front what my background is, and it's better than what it was, right? Because you've
been in GA world for a while.
I've been GA, yeah,
like a couple decades, right?
At least 10 years.
Okay, a decade, yeah.
Yeah. And off and on, some of that is like off and on, doing some stuff here, doing some stuff there. There's a lot of guys that do part-time GA work, and I think they're doing the GA world a disservice in a couple of aspects, because one, the rate that they're charging folks, I don't think folks are getting their bang for their buck.
Okay.
Two, these guys they're
just not as knowledgeable because they don't touch it every day.
Exactly, they don't
have that muscle memory like some of these other guys do.
Yep. But what unfortunately that pool of knowledge is getting thinner and thinner every year.
Yeah, I believe it. In my 5 years of being in the airplane world and kind of learning from people like Crazy Mike that well, hanging out with different mechanics, what I've noticed a lot is general aviation, there's a lot of small shops. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these maintenance facilities are, a big hangar. It's messy as hell, and you got a bunch of high school kids or kids in their 20s that are apprenticing.
Yeah.
And it's like wrangling cats. And what happens a lot is somebody will bring, hey, this aircraft needs this type of work. And everybody's eager to work on it because they're eager to work on anything, but it'll be something that they've never done in this shop.
Yeah.
For example, like there's an ongoing fiasco. A gentleman had his de-ice boots replaced. And I don't think this shop had ever once touched a de-ice boot, and they installed it wrong. Well, now there's a big question in the air because it's like, hey, that was $18,000. So it's like, who's going to fit the bill? Right. Obviously, me, as an owner, I wouldn't want to pay it. But
Absolutely
then as
not.
a shop, you're not going to, you can't take that big red number, So versus in the jet world, I've gone to a few of those facilities. You can eat off the floors. Every single screw is accounted for, and you put a piece of tape and you say how many of this part number and how many of each of the parts are in this drawer, and where it goes. And like each of those guys, they have a type rating specifically to work on that jet. Yeah. Whereas in GA, it's like you said, you're an A&P, you can go work on anything that's under 12,500 pounds, even if you never touched it before, and it's like, okay, yeah, again, the eagerness to work on it, but then do you know what you're doing?
Nope.
Yeah, so tricky.
It is that, and that's why that you have guys coming in not understanding. Yeah, when I take this part off, I need to label it properly.
Yeah,
I need to account for all of the hardware that's coming with it.
Yeah,
right. I don't know how many times I've taken a panel. I go to put it in, I got one screw missing.
Yep. Yeah.
Simple stuff, but.
Yeah, and it always seems like in the GA world, you walk into a hangar and there's just piles of stuff. There's piles here, piles there, piles there. And then I go like, what is this pile? And they go, oh, that was from this thing. And I'm like, well, where is it? And they're like, oh, no, we sent it out. It's gone. I'm like, these look important, dude.
Yeah,
oh, we got some out of the bucket of all the other used parts over there. Yeah. And you're like, okay. But anyways, so, all right, so you got your AMP. You're in the civilian world. Obviously, you're at Lockheed Martin for a while. Now where are you going and what are you doing?
After Lockheed Martin, because everyone's goal is to go to the majors.
Okay.
So I got on with United Airlines.
Wicked.
Out in Oakland, California, and that was the shit. Flying around,
Yeah, because you got benefits.
Flight benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. But September 11th.
Yeah.
So
And how old were you when you got on with United? Still in your 20s.
Yeah,
okay.
28, yeah.
Wow, that's great, man. So you're not even 30 yet, and you're already established at like a big airline, making good money.
Yeah, yeah.
And you got the travel benefits.
Yep.
And you're in California. And are you still single at the time?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, you're living the dream, bro.
Yeah.
That's wicked.
That was a fucking bang-up time.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. So talk to me a little bit about that life. And, training, I imagine, was probably top-notch.
Yeah, so let's see. I was on 4.7s, the 200.
Damn, the 747, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That's
747,
cool.
767, and a 777. And each one, like you said, a type rating, we call them a Gen Fam course, a general familiarization course. Everybody gets one. Before you touch the airplane, you got to do a Gen Fam course. And it goes over the nuts and bolts, nose to tail, wingtip to wingtip. This is how you address this airplane. And you really got to pay attention because everyone has a specific job. So, this is hangar work. It's not flight line. And I was used to flight line. Hangar's a different animal. Everyone's got their specific role. And this was my first union shop too. I remember we had a 747 come in. I grab a gun. I'm getting ready to take some panels off, right? Because we needed to jack the plane. That's the first thing you do when they come in for an inspection. You want to get the aircraft weight. So I'm going to take a panel off to expose a jack pad. This guy comes up to me, Wayne Poole. I'll never forget Wayne because Wayne and I, we wound up being real cool. I thought Wayne was going to be a fucking problem though, because so this is like my first week or so, right? I'm on a ladder, I'm getting ready to take this panel off. Wayne comes up, hey, what you doing, man? I said, I'm going to take this panel off. We're getting ready to jack. He's like, yeah, that's sheet metal. They'll do that.
I see.
So we weren't sheet metal. We were what's called APG.
Okay.
Airplane General.
So
there's Airplane General, sheet metal, and then E&E, or the avionics guys.
Okay.
It's like 6 screws, if that, right? I was like, I can. And then he puts his hand on the ladder. He's like, you need to come down. So I'm looking. So I'm like, all right. Now I'm looking at him side eye. I'm like, okay, I'm going to settle this shit at another time, right? But come to find out, that was the culture. That's union culture. Each shop has its specific duties. And as soon as I got off the ladder, there's a sheet metal guy. He went right up, took that panel off. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is fucking ridiculous. But that's how it went.
Yeah, I can understand, especially coming from a military background where you're like, it was all on me, and I'm the one that fixed everything. Yeah. And then you mentioned flight line, so I spoke to this guy on Instagram, Total Aviation. He was the 737 mechanic in Canada, and he does flight line. And flight line is like, yo,
you do it all.
You do it all, and it's like, this aircraft is on the ground, AOG. It's
gotta
like,
go.
You need to fix this now.
Yep.
Because a plane on the ground doesn't make money. And so I could see how hangar life, it's like, hey, the plane is going to be here for a while.
Right.
Like the rush, the precedence is like not
That shit's
there.
gone.
Yeah.
There is no rush.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's like, oh, Kathy brought in a cake today. Whereas like Flightline, you're like, dude, I just did a lab dump and I'm covered in blue juice. You're like two different lifestyles.
Completely.
And, after being in it for a while, what would you prefer? Would you prefer hangar or Flightline?
Flightline.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that's so interesting that you say that, because I would think that the comfort of hangar life would be better.
That shit is boring. It's mundane.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you're doing the same thing and you're only in charge of one thing. I could see that.
Yeah, Flightline is way, way better.
That's cool. That's cool. Interesting to hear, man. I'm glad that you feel that way. So.
Yeah, Flightline is where it's at. Hangar, no, not at all.
And I asked Total Aviation, and I was like, "What's some of the weirdest stuff?" Because when you rip out all the panels and the seats and stuff, and he said the amount of dust.
That shit's fucking disgusting,
dude. And that's just like human cells. Oh God, so grody.
It's fucking gross.
What's some of the nastiest stuff that you saw while you were in the hangars?
Cabin air filter changes. Those things are, oh God, man. It's worse than a fucking Petri dish, man. Those things are fucking disgusting.
And how often do those get changed? Not that often, huh?
So
every few years or something.
Right. They're supposed to be changed, but they're such a pain in the fucking ass to get to, for one.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, they're fucking gross.
Ugh.
Those things are disgusting. And they're always fucking moist. Ugh.
Oh, dude. No wonder we're all getting sick on flights. It's not,
man.
It's not because of like Becky in row
because
3.
of that
It's
fucking
that
filter.
Yeah. Ugh.
That shit's got eons of who the fuck knows what.
That's so funny. Yeah. So everybody out there still wearing your little surgical mask on the plane. I don't really think that's going to help, dude. No, there's just bacteria growing in that tube in the sky.
Yeah, you need DEFCON 0 gear on.
Yeah, honestly. Well, did you ever find some cool stuff when you guys were going in to rip everything out?
No, because this is how it goes. When you're in the hangar, they clear out all the booze and they clear out all the food. The snacks they typically leave on there. But there's a cleaning crew that goes through the airplane before it comes into the hangar.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know if anybody ever found like an engagement ring as you rip up the carpet or something.
Oh yeah, folks have found shit.
Yeah.
iPads, cell phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, that's cool, man. That's interesting.
Yep.
So how long were you in the hangar?
Shit, I was in the hangar my entire time at United.
And how long was that?
2 years.
Oh, okay. So you didn't stay there too long.
No. Then, so after September 11th, I was actually working part-time at a Sierra Academy is what they called it. It's not there anymore.
Okay.
But, yeah, I was teaching basic electricity, aircraft electricity. That was pretty fun. So simple shit, Ohm's law. Nothing difficult.
Okay, well, first off, what's Ohm's law? Because I have no idea. Electricity, man, I'll tell you what. And I've been a flight instructor for a couple of years now, I think maybe going on 3. And, students will be like, what are amps and volts? And I just tell them, hey, if it's positive, we're good to go.
Look.
And electrical stuff, man, it still boggles my mind. Like, that is just magic running through those wires. So what is Ohm's law? Tell me
Ohm's law is your volts divided by resistance times amps. Well, you can, and that's just one. You can move it around. Just look at a triangle, and you'll have E, that's your volts, and then R, or an ohm for resistance, and then amps, right? You see the I, or sometimes you'll see A. Amps, that's the speed of your volts, right? The volts are the electrons, your amps are the speed of the volts, and then your resistance is how much is it letting through.
Okay.
That's all it is.
Man, I'm so glad that there's smart people in the world like you because, like, again, if it's in the green, you're good to go, kids. Like, just fly the plane, man.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think the biggest, and now they've got so much new sheathing over the wiring now. There was this thing called inductance, and that was probably the toughest thing I had to teach. So what happens is there is a reverse current that happens that causes resistance in the wire, right? So you got your volt, you got your electron, and it's hauling ass. The speed that it's hauling ass is what your amperage is.
Okay.
Now, as it's moving through the wire, it's creating a reverse current, and that reverse current is causing a resistance, and that's inductance. And there's an equation for that. Don't ask me what the equation is.
Yeah. I guess Newton, every action, there's a reaction.
Right.
Or something like that.
But they've got sheathing over the wires now, so it's not as bad. It's like back in the day, somebody put a new stereo in their car, and you hear this backfeed, this noise.
Yes.
Yeah. So now with the new material they have over wiring now, it's not as bad as it was.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So when you left United, was it were you happy about it, moving on to new pastures, or were you like,
No, I will say it was a disturbing period, and the reason being is there were guys that had moved across the country with their family to work for United.
Sure.
So when we got laid off, I mean, I'm talking about it was just me.
Okay.
That's not a big deal.
Right.
You're talking about a guy with a wife and 2, 3, 4 kids in tow.
Yeah.
You know, there was one guy, he'd come down from Washington because he was with Boeing. He had come to United because he got laid off from Boeing. So to turn around and get laid off from United, and fortunately Boeing was rehiring, so he went back to Washington to Boeing. But I started to see how volatile the industry could be,
Yeah, man, this business will chew you up and spit you out.
My God.
Not even look back.
No.
I currently Spirit Airlines is going through a lot of difficulties. And, everybody's like, oh, the pilots are going to get laid off. And man, who cares about the pilots? Let's talk flight attendants, mechanics, ramp agents, gate agents, okay, dispatchers, accountants, right? Like we're talking tens of thousands of people. Their livelihood is about to be yanked out from under them, and they're all going to be sitting there, with a mortgage saying, how
am I supposed to do this shit?
Yeah, man. It's brutal.
It is.
So you decided to go teach after that debacle.
Yep. I taught. I did some part-time work fixing buses in San Francisco. I went to New York. I sold cell phones door to door.
Damn.
That job fucking sucked. That was the worst. Come on now. You see some black dude walking around with a cardboard box full of cell phones.
Yeah,
They're
right?
thinking, oh man, hell yeah, I'll take one. Now I'm asking for Social Security so I can get the phone turned on.
Right.
They're like, well, wait a minute, what do you need my social for?
Yeah.
I'm like, man, these aren't burner phones. These are legitimate phones.
Yeah.
It was for this company called Rhino Wireless.
I remember that.
You remember Rhino?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I
can remember their logo.
Selling door to door for them for a minute. That was the worst. Anyway, long story short, that's when I started doing contracting, working in 145 repair stations.
Okay.
You work with this companies out there like STS or PDS, and
maybe like Stevens Aerospace is one that I just learned about. They're like a pretty big outfit.
Yep, Stevens Aerospace. There's HQ Aero. That's another one. JS Firm. That's a huge one.
I think I've heard of them. Yeah.
So there's tons of aircraft work out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, are you willing to go to some of these remote places? There's an air park in West Virginia. That's a big 145 repair station. I didn't go there, but I think they had Bombardier work.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So when you got there, what were you working on?
You name it, man. 727. That's what interesting is. You touch a lot of different, because it's whatever contract they get. So we were doing a winglet mod on Continental airplanes. Continental had some 757s that were getting winglets put on. We had did some FedEx work on 67s. They had a 27 they were flying. This is back in 04 or so.
So it was still a lot of aircraft that you're familiar with, because that was going to be my next question. Is, let's say, you're working on something like a CRJ or an Embraer or something that you didn't have a certificate to work on. And so how would that work? You just kind of like, you got one guy who does have the certificate and he's managing all of you guys, overseeing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And that's how those MROs work, or that's how those 145s work. And what's crazy is, like, it's because there's aircraft maintenance, like heavy maintenance, that will get outsourced to either China or somewhere in South America. And there's one licensed mechanic, and he is signing for everyone's work.
Dude, that sounds like a huge liability.
It is fucking insane.
Ugh.
It's insane. But, the margins, right? When you look at the industry and why it's so volatile, the margins are so fucking tight. So they have to, they're figuring out how to
just stay in the green. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't take much. And what a lot of guys on that pilot path don't understand is, man, energy management is fucking key. Which, you ever see these pilots getting irate because they're being held up before they get to their gate. They're like, look, I got so much fuel that I'm set to burn. Right. You got me sitting here because some jackwagon can't get out of the way in time. You find me where I need to go so I can shut this shit down. Yep. So it's everybody is on a crunch to figure out how to save these pennies. Yeah.
Yeah, like I remember seeing this article talking about British Airways did a study, and they found that paint has weight to it. That's why most of the time you see aircraft are all white, and I would imagine also they absorb less heat. Yep. And then they found out that over all of the periodicals that they would put in, again, this was back in like 90s, 2000s, when you could still find a magazine in the back of the seat pocket. Now everybody just looks at their phone, and whatever, which I'm pissed about, dude. Remember Sky Mall?
Oh, I love that catalog.
That was as a little kid. That was the first thing I would go to, flip through all that shit, look at all the stuff that I couldn't buy, and then, go into the Sudoku in the back of the magazine or whatever.
Hell yeah.
So I miss those days. But British Airways found that, like, if they removed just one page from every one of their periodicals, that they would save, like, 50,000 pounds of fuel across their fleet in a year. And it's like little tiny things like that. It has a huge impact.
It's simple shit. Just aircraft washings.
I believe it too.
Cleaning the dirt off the airplane.
Yeah.
That saves weight.
Yeah.
I remember American, they would just polish metal for a long time, saving weight.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people like that livery. I was never a fan. I don't know. I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. I don't know what it is, but man, I just love Southwest. I think just because I was a kid and I grew up on Southwest, and I'm kind of bummed that they're doing away with the open seating. I think everybody is just full on stupid these days. If you can't just get on a plane and sit your ass in a seat, like it was working great for decades and decades.
Now all of a sudden it's a fucking problem.
Where do I sit? Put your ass in the seat. We're going to Nevada. Like, let's go, baby. Well, cool, man. So how long were you at the 145? How many years?
Oh shit, I did 145 for years.
Yeah?
Probably about 6 or 7 years.
Did you like it? Did you have a good time there, or was there ups and downs?
There were ups and downs. You meet a bunch of cool, different people, and you work on a lot of different things. So it was fun. But in the midst of that, I did work for a small regional, Mesa Airline, and they operated.
Oh Lord, my dad worked for Mesa, dude. That place, at least in the 2006 to 2008 time frame.
I was there, bro. Out of RDU.
He was based out of DC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he'd have to drive to DC, and he had a crash pad. Gotcha. And he came from, flying in South America, where they would fly a DC-10 and they would go South America to Europe. Then the airline only had, I think, like 12 aircraft in their fleet. Because, Venezuela is not a huge country. So they were treated like royalty, dude. They would go to Europe, and then they would stay with the aircraft for 4 days and then fly it back.
Wow.
Dude, so he came from that world to now Mesa Airlines.
CRJ 200s.
Dude, I think he flew the 2, the 7, and the 9 maybe. And
I remember when they brought on the 9s, but we worked on 7s and 2s.
Dude, and he had a crash pad where there's 6 guys in bunk beds in a room this size coming in at all hours of the night. And all that being said, he was on food stamps. So he eventually said, fuck this. And he left. And he left aviation for 10 years. The only reason he got back into it was because of me, because he was my flight instructor. But, okay, so take it away. You're at Mesa.
Yeah, I was at Mesa. It's at RDU. We had 4 United Express jets. So there were 2 200s and 2 700s. And then we did a Delta Express. Those were some Embraer 145s. That was on the other side of the ramp. So we would service those 6 airplanes every night. Just 8. They were B checks. No, not B checks. They were A checks.
Okay.
So you're kicking tires and what have you. It was fun. It was cool.
Did you ever run into Crazy Mike back in those days? Was he on the ramp? No,
I
not
sure
back
didn't.
then.
No.
Okay. Yeah, because he was telling me, he was kind of the same. He worked with 14 different airlines because he was in a similar operation like you, and they would do a variety of stuff on all these aircraft and whatnot, and doing lab dumps and putting speed tape over shit.
Speed tape. Hell yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. So, now we're getting kind of into the modern day where I know you more so as working in general aviation.
Yeah.
You also own your own business, and you worked in kind of like manufacturing, right?
Yeah.
So what led you into that? Were you just done with aviation?
Not so much that I was done with it, but things were at a wife, a kid, and a kid on the way. And I was looking at an opportunity in Afghanistan. And she wasn't feeling it. I don't know. I was like, they're paying.
I know, but
they pay like they weigh.
If I was a woman, I'd be worried too.
But I mean, I was going over there. It was a helicopter. It was helicopter work.
Okay.
So it's like, look, A&P.
Yeah.
And I never worked on rotor heads, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it,
Yeah.
So It was with L3 Vertex. And I'm, putting that package together. She's like, are you sure? I was like, She's like, well, let's try one more time. So I went to the Employment Security Commission, and I went straight to the VA section. And the guy asked me, he said, you know anything about aseptic processing? I said, nope. He said, we'll put your resume in for this. I was like, all right. I didn't care. I'm trying to get to the Middle East. And then I got a call from Novo Nordisk. And that's how I got into pharma. And when I got there, there were a couple of aircraft mechanics in there that were doing maintenance on this pharma equipment. And that's the unfortunate side of this industry, is that there's other industries out there that will pay for our expertise that our own industry is like, you're only worth this much. But I understand from a business perspective, the margins are so small. The cost of airplanes have gone up, the cost of parts has gone up, but we can't go up on your pay. Pilots' pay has gone up. I mean, these guys, they're $500,000. They're projected to be $1 million soon in the not too distant future. And for the longest, they were saying, oh man, they're going to price themselves out in the market. I don't see how.
Yeah, good for you guys, all of you guys at the major airlines. I've already decided that shit ain't for me, man. I cannot wear those silly hats. That thing looks so stupid. You look like a bus driver. And all of you Delta guys with your, double-breasted jackets walking through all confident. Dude, I guess the confidence comes with the paycheck, but I think it looks silly, man.
Look, there's a guy that I follow. I don't know. I can't remember what his name is. He's always talking about his watch of the trip, watch of the day.
Yeah, I know this guy. Yeah.
He's got his car projects.
Yeah, that guy. I know that guy. Yeah. He's bald.
Yeah.
That guy. Yeah.
He is killing it.
Oh, dude.
He's fucking killing it.
Oh yeah, that guy doesn't answer the phone for anything under like $20,000.
No. He's $500,000 easy.
Oh yeah,
$500,000 easy. Talking about his trips to, he does some stuff in the Caribbean.
Yeah, like Barbados and all that stuff. Yeah. Hey, shout out to you, if guy, if you ever listen to my silly podcast. Let's talk. let's look at the balance sheet. So.
The FAA is so far behind the times with shit. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you're telling me, dude. I got a brother that just retired from air traffic control. And and he went through the last shutdown, government shutdown, and we're sitting here in a second government shutdown, and I called him up, and he's like, "Dude, I'm sitting on my balcony looking at the lake, looking at the boats go by, and I don't give a rat's ass." He's like, "I'm so happy to be away from all that."
Where was he?
San Antonio.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, so he was doing a lot of that military airport. Stuff. Yeah, because he's got the Air Force bases and there's military operation areas all around it. He did get to do it right along in a T-38.
That's cool.
He got out, because they invite civilian air traffic controllers, just to come do business, as they say it.
Yep.
So that was cool. All right, man. So I could totally see a similarity in, pharmaceutical manufacturing or any kind of manufacturing and a mechanic's background.
Yeah.
So you got into that world. And obviously, you have the family, and so you have like a great income, and you're probably doing 9 to 5, right? So you're not a night owl anymore.
Yep. Well, no. So the first part, it was nights.
Okay.
It was nights. It's 12-hour shifts though. I think it was not rotating. It's a 2-2-3 schedule. So every other weekend's a 3-day weekend, and I was on nights for about 6 years.
Wow.
But I mean, it was great. I had days off during the week. I had a 3-day weekend every other weekend, and the maintenance, I mean, there were days in aviation, I would come home Friday night, my hands were filthy. They wouldn't get clean until Sunday.
Yeah.
In pharma, you don't get dirty like that.
Nice. I know the feeling. I've done minor things here, and I was like, man, I should have worn gloves. People were like, hey, you want some gloves? I was like, oh, no, it's fine. Yeah. And then, I'm scrubbing my hands for 4 days.
For 4 days.
I'm like, dude,
why didn't I wear those gloves?
Yeah, you're looking at your hands like, I don't even want to wipe my own ass. Like, my hands are disgusting. But anyways, well, that's cool, man. And so while you were in the pharma world, did you still kind of maintain a presence in general aviation?
Absolutely.
Nice.
What a lot of mechanics don't know is if you haven't done anything in a 24-month period, your license doesn't go away, but it goes dormant.
Interesting.
And you cannot sign anything off until you reactivate it with some time. What is that? there's wings, things that you can do, stuff like that. But basically, there's steps you have to take to kind of breathe life back into your license again.
Yeah, same thing for flight instructors and just in aviation in general. Everything's kind of on that 2-year cycle. Yeah. So that's interesting to know. I did not know that.
Yeah, there's a lot of mechanics who are like, oh, yeah, I've had my AMP since whenever. It's like, when's the last time you touched an airplane? Oh, 63? Like, yeah.
That shit ain't valid.
That shit ain't
Yeah. Well, dude, that's super cool. And I wanted to ask you a couple of quick questions. So just about general aviation maintenance, what's some advice that we can give to, folks out there who don't have mechanic friends like me? Because I remember as a freshly minted private pilot, I was in a flying club and I'm doing my little walk around, my little Cessna, my little Piper. And I go like, oh, this screw is missing. Right. And so I call the mechanic who we know, Crazy Mike, and he comes and he's like, what the fuck do you want? I got so much other shit to do. And I'm thinking that I'm saving the day. And I'm like, Mike, look at this screw right here. This is missing. He's like, you got 784 other screws keeping this thing together, man. It's fine, right? So what's some advice that we can give, for people that don't know much, right? Like what's a level of comfort of like basically things being broken or in op that is still okay? And what are some of the big gotchas that a lot of people might gloss over that it's like, hey, this is not good. Like this, it should be a no-go item. So let's talk about all that.
So that's a tough one, right? Because it really depends on your experience. So say if you're a newbie, just go ahead and question everything. If you see something that makes you feel uncomfortable, call it out.
Okay. Because it's nice to hear you as a mechanic say that because, I'm talking to a lot of mechanics in the shop and they're like, we got 7 planes parked outside and we got 9 in here that we're working on. And it's like, don't bring me that bullshit of, this little tiny thing because we got big fish to fry.
That's ego talking, though.
Okay.
And ego is what kills people more than anything. So not to create an environment where somebody is going to now be hesitant to question something. If you see something that you're not comfortable with, absolutely have somebody take a look at it. And if it's nothing, then it's nothing. No fuss, no muss. But it only takes that one time to be like, this won't be that big a deal. Next thing you know, you're fucking making an emergency call.
Yeah, and they're going to come, FAA is going to come read your signature in that aircraft maintenance logbook. So
yeah. So if you see something, say something.
That's cool, man. I really like that you said that. And I think it is, like you said, I think it is ego because, all these guys, they just been working on little planes and now they've been in there for 4 or 5 years and they think they're top dog. Yeah. Whereas you came from, no. Yeah. I touch the coolest shit that you'll never even see. So let's set our ego aside. So I like that you still have that mentality.
Because I think, we always forget, unfortunately, we forget that we were that same person at one time. That we didn't know shit.
Yeah.
And you always want to create an environment where it's okay to ask questions.
Yeah.
It's okay to question. If something looks off, ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. There's no haste in this business.
No.
I had an incident where it almost bit me in the ass really bad. We were going to ferry an airplane, Tamir and I. And
Tamir, my man.
Yeah. So he was gracious enough to take me up to West Virginia to go move a Piper Arrow back from where I was doing a pre-buy inspection back to his home airport, and it was like a 15-minute hop between airports, like nothing. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, all right, I'm just going to hop out while his plane's still moving. I'm just going to jump in this thing, crank it up, fly. I was the last one to touch it 2 weeks ago. No problem, right? Well, thank God. I go into the mechanic shop to get the keys, and they say, hey, man, do a thorough walk around because we think that we saw some birds going in and burrowing in the cowling up in the engine. Mm-hmm. So sure enough, I popped the cowling off, and now I see the beginnings of a bird nest because they were like, I think we saw bird poop on the prop, and there was bird poop on the prop. So thank God they told me that. So now I get all the little bird nests out of the engine, and I'm like, okay, I should take my time now, right? Yeah. And at this point now, Tamir walks up because he's like, all right, this guy took more than 5 minutes. What's going on? So we're both like, okay, let's do a thorough walk around. And we sump the fuel out of one wing. And we're holding it up to the paint, and we're like, it kind of looks clear, right? Mm-hmm. And we smell it, and we're like, it smells like fuel. And again, thank God, Tamir, he has a PhD in mechanical engineering. Like, thank God he's a smarter man than me. He had the logic to go like, okay, it looks clear. It's not blue, but it smells like avgas. He went to the other wing and sumped some. And then we saw a clear difference of blue and clear. So we were like, okay, that was water, right? And we were using one of those big sump cups, not the little tube, but the big cup.
Big ones. It's harder to see.
Dude, I pulled 4 cups of water out of this wing. And then what we found out was this fuel cap over here, it had a bunch of rust in the seal. So it wasn't like closing properly. And it had sat outside during thunderstorms for 2 weeks. Now, if I had just jumped in that thing like an idiot,
that shit would have been coughing and choking.
Yeah, and I was set to that fuel tank. And what's funny was when I sumped the engine still had blue coming out of it. But it was set to start grabbing fuel out of that wing. So I would have been at fucking 50 feet right over the trees, and that fucking engine would have just quit on me.
Yeah.
And I was right at that period, like they all say, like somewhere around 1,200 hours.
Yep.
I thought like, I've had multiple jobs in this business.
Right.
You know, I know what I'm doing.
Yep.
I'm running the show.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, that just put me down a peg, and I was like, thank God I'm not dead today.
Hell yeah. Damn.
Yeah. Well, cool. So you pretty much summed up my question. Is like anytime you see something,
if you see
just
something,
ask.
Fuck yeah.
Just ask.
Because it's better to ask and not need it on the ground than to not ask and fucking need it in the air.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Oh, I've had those moments. I'm sure you have too, man. Talking about Tamir, so, you know, and as mechanics, you kind of know, you know, how far you can push the envelope before it's, you know, actually dangerous. It might be questionable. We might be in a gray area.
Yep.
So I remember a story from him, and he tells it like it was so like, but in hindsight, I'm like, oh, it's fine. You guys ran down to Florida and you got some parts, and they were very. you remember the story vividly. Yeah. So the back of the plane, right? It has like a little false wall just to make the interior look nice. The tail obviously extends way further out.
Right.
But it's just sheet metal, you know.
Not even, it was fucking plastic.
Yeah.
Though the false wall but sheet metal going back.
And the structure of the tail. And so you had to remove that little false wall to have this part that extended all the way to the back of the tail. Now, obviously, that's not causing any sort of issue.
No.
But he was looking at it, and he had his girlfriend on board.
They were like, fuck no.
Yeah, they were like, this is so unsafe and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, again, it's like me with the screw, you know? And it's like, dude, everything is okay.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just kind of funny when pilots, I feel like a lot of times, if it's not tip-top shape or perfect, you know, again, like guys can't figure out how to get their seat unstuck. It's like, bro, spray some WD-40.
Yeah.
You know? Man up. Whereas the mechanics, they're like, dude, this shit's totally fine. We've got 18,000 pounds of concrete in this 172. It'll still fly, you know?
It'll fly.
It's like, trust me, I know that it will fly. So it's always funny just to, you know, have a balance of, you know, clean fingernail pilot guy, like, got to have, you know, his comfortable seat, because if not, his coccyx will hurt, versus like the mechanics, like, bro, I'm flying this thing in a lawn chair. You know
right,
what I mean?
exactly.
So, that's really funny. Well, let me get into your business. So you take it away. Tell me about Gains in Airplanes.
Gains in Airplanes. And I like it because it rhymes.
Yeah.
Because it's all about gains, right? And I say gains because everybody does some ego lifting from time to time. But it's about just not just lifting heavy, but just staying functionally fit. You know, if you want to be here for a while, you want to be able to simple things like sit on the ground and get back up off the ground, right? I mean, there's people who can't remember the last time they actually ran somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, I think the statistic is once you go past the age of 40, you are 80% less likely to sprint ever again.
Interesting.
You know? So there's lifestyle changes that happen just because, and you know, if you're not cognizant of it, you'll be wondering, oh man, why am I aching? It's because you don't use those body parts or those muscles anymore, and you should. And
I think you know, I watched this really cool documentary on Netflix all about the blue zones where people live past 100, and they were kind of studying what is it about this culture that allows them to live longer. And like you just said, you know, a lot of people listening might go like, sit down and get back up. What the hell are you talking about? Man, how do we treat our elderly in America? We say, sit down, don't move, you're fragile, whatever. They were looking at these folks in Japan, and they would 105-year-olds would go and tend to their garden every day and just simple squatting, lifting things, right? Bending over. They had the agility of like a 30-year-old American.
Exactly.
And it was insane. It's like you have to stay in motion.
You have to stay in motion. And when you talk about squatting, and I'm big on squats. Reason being is that's the first movement you learn, right? So as you're a baby, you start crawling and then you learn to stand. One of the first things you do as a baby is squat, to pick something up or to just stop. You see babies squat all the time. It is the most natural position of the human form.
Yeah, and not to call it Asians again, but you see them, they're squatting all the time.
A heartbeat.
Yeah.
Because they have the flexibility in their ankle, they have the elasticity in their hamstrings, and they have the flexibility and mobility in their hips. And a doctor can basically let you know how long you're going to live based off of the mobility in your hip. And there are so many people that do not have good hip mobility because of the invention of the chair. You spend your time sitting in a car, sitting in an office,
sitting in a plane,
and your hip flexors are weak and retarded. Your glutes never been activated, right? Your hamstrings don't have the same elasticity. There's some folks that absolutely cannot squat at all, and the squats is life. If you can continue to squat until your last days are going to be far ahead of you, as opposed to someone who doesn't squat. And I'm not saying go out and squat 1,000 pounds, but just body squats.
Yeah.
Ass to grass, get as low as you can, get that ankle mobility in. Because most folks, when they squat, they can't do it without lifting their heels off the ground. And they're lifting their heels off the ground because they don't have the mobility in their ankles to squat and keep their feet flat on the ground. So there's, that whole lower lumbar on through down into the what is it called? Posterior chain. The posterior chain, and strengthening your posterior chain and keeping it flexible is going to serve you way better than just standard weightlifting, weight training. Yeah.
And I mentioned to you, I kind of fell in love with kettlebells.
Yeah.
As a kid in high school, a lot of my friends, they would go to weight training class.
Yeah.
And a lot of athletes and stuff. And I played soccer, so I wasn't really ever big into going to the gym. I'm still not. Like when I go to the gym, I'm like, ugh. Because I just have imposter syndrome. Like I see all these machines and everybody's jacked, and like I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But now I'm finally getting into it, right? And I was going to ask you, what do you think instilled that in you? Was it in you from childhood, or was it the military? Because I know once you got into school and you're playing football, now obviously you're working out with the team.
Yeah. But
where did that drive come from?
It's always been. I think that was just part of the culture growing up. I mean, you had He-Man and G.I. Joe. Everyone was strong and fit, right?
What is it, Mr. T?
Mr. T, exactly. Yeah. So everybody wanted to be strong. So the culture of weightlifting was always that's always been a part of my existence. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely a little different landscape today in the pop culture in terms of image.
Yeah, skinny jeans and
yeah, everybody's thin, penciled in.
Right.
And I was just listening to this other podcast, these comedians, and it was so funny. And they were talking about how nowadays, like, everybody has to get hot to go to the gym. Everybody has to look sexy, like men and women. It's like, and they have like all this cool attire, and it's like, what happened to the cutoff shirt and like raggedy basketball shorts?
Oh no, yeah, everybody has to have a fit.
Yeah, dude, what the fuck is this? Like, no. And then a lot of those, like like the ones that are all getting hot and fancy and dressed up to go to the gym, like, I don't really see you sweating.
No, they don't sweat. Yeah. It's more of a
an
pose.
Image.
Yeah, it's an image. Yeah. I go to the gym. I can't tell.
Yeah, that's their social circle,
Yeah.
And it's like,
and nothing. Yeah, look, I'm
good for you. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah,
good for you. You're still exercising, but
yeah,
it's a little different than it used to be.
A lot different.
But tell me about your supplements, your nutritional stuff.
So Gains in Airplanes, I have and it's been a journey, but a pre-workout. It's called Jet Fuel, and then I'm working on a creatine. We're going back and forth on the creatine because, like aviation, the margins are so thin. Because creatine, you can get a huge tub of that shit for like $20. So it's like, man, how are they even making money off of it? And it's based off of volume.
Sure. Yeah. China, you can just make 17 tons of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the pre-workout, which is interesting too, because it's, you see these fads come and go. So just probably about a year, for the past year and a half or so, maybe, everybody was on the low stem, the stem free. I don't want to feel the jitters, this, that, and the other. And they were trying to get these pre-workouts. They just wanted something that tasted good. Excuse me. Now, in the past, say 8-9 months, it's about high stem. There's stuff out there that's 600 milligrams.
Dude.
600 milligrams.
I wouldn't be able to sleep for a week.
And I thought I was being aggressive because my pre-workout is at 300. And we were like, oh, yeah. So, and it's two parts of caffeine. One is a long-lasting. One is an instant, and then the other one's a long-lasting.
Okay.
But the total is 300. Yeah. But these 600, it's like, Jesus, man, how, but that's the kind of shit that I like. So initially I was like, yeah, that's the audience that I'm targeting, the real gym rat. Yeah. Not the poser, not somebody who's interested in something that tastes good and is stem free. Yeah. If it tastes like gasoline, who cares? Does it get me where I want to get? Right. Yeah. So as a matter of fact, I may come out with a flavor because it's called Jet Fuel.
There you go.
I need to come out with something that's flavored like fuel.
There you go, dude. Hell yeah. I'm down. Yeah, we could just do all the different octanes, jet fuel, avgas.
Yeah, exactly. What's the new shit they got coming out? I can't remember what it's called.
Fuel of the future.
Yeah, fuel of the future.
That's funny, man. Selfishly, I want to ask you, the guy that's like, carry the boats.
David Goggins.
Yeah, we got the David Goggins of the world who's like, I just ran 100 miles. Get your bitch ass out of bed. Who's going to carry the boats? We got those kind of guys, and those guys get me jacked up. But then there's some days where you just, you're dragging ass, and you're not feeling it. So what is some advice to a guy like me, scrawny little dude? What can you tell me to help me push through those times?
Sometimes it helps to just go in there. Just go in there.
Just go in and sit down.
Just go in and sit down. Yeah. And that is an accomplishment in itself. Did you go to the gym today? Yeah. I went.
Yeah.
Pick up some fives, swing them around, do whatever. Just get in there. Just to stay in the habit of being in it. Okay. Because there's days, shit. I remember one morning, I went in my garage. I was 100% not feeling it. I got just basic. I got 45s on the bar, 135, right? That's my warm up, right? Because I was just going to do some squats. And I did the first set, and I'd done my mobility stuff, loosen up my hips. I get up, I do 10. I rack it. And then I just leaned my arms on the bar. I felt like crying. I so did not want to be in there, but I knew I had to be in there, Mm-hmm. And it, for me anyway, when I force myself to do the hard stuff that I don't want to do, there's growth there, right? Because there's never any growth in a place of comfort. You'll never grow in comfort. There's no need. You're comfortable. Why grow? It's when you're challenged with shit. That's when you grow. The hardest shit that you got to face that's what makes you that much better.
Yeah, man. And the reason I ask, almost anybody in the aviation industry is either one of two things. They're either very fit and interested in their fitness, and I would say that's probably 25 to 30%, and then everybody else is overweight. Yeah. It doesn't really matter what part of the business you're in. If you're a gate agent, if you're a pilot, if you're a flight attendants for sure, man, because they're living that party lifestyle, and even mechanics, And we all got to maintain our health, especially
Yeah.
pilots, because if not, I'll lose our medical, you
Yeah.
know. But I like what you said there. Just go to the gym and just sit down.
Just go and sit down in there, man.
Because, you know, my coach, she told me it takes about a month to make a habit.
21 days to make a habit.
It takes like 6 to 8 months to make a lifestyle change.
Mm-hmm.
And then it takes 2 to 3 years for that just to become your identity.
Yeah.
Where you don't even think about it anymore.
Yep.
So if you just sit in the gym at least,
Just
the
go.
bare minimum,
Yeah.
2 years down the road, you're not even going to think about it. It's
Nope.
going to be an impulse.
Yeah.
David, it's been awesome, man. Thank you so much. We're going to do another one of these at some point.
Oh, man, shit. Hell yeah. I want to come back. This was fun.
Always, man. I think next time we'll have to talk about some of the crazier repair jobs that you did and get more into some aircraft. Thanks so much, dude.
Hell yeah. Anytime.
Clear to land, wind 280 at 7 knots.